Hey everybody, Jeppy here, and this is probably going to be the most controversial video I will ever upload on this channel. The reason why is because today I am going to be ranking every single agent on Valorant, but solely based on their lore. The two ways I'll rank the agents are how interesting are their lore stories and how much do they contribute to Valorant's lore as a whole. So if you have an agent that's lore story is actually like really cool, but they don't do much for the overall story, it might place them lower on the list because of that. I'm going to try and stay as unbiased as I possibly can and base this list solely on those two factors I said earlier. I don't think any agent in Valorant's lore is like actually awful. So the tier list will start off at C tier and then work our way to S tier at the end of the video. But before we get into this amazing ranking video, I have something cool to show you. I know you guys are lore junkies for amazing stories in video games. So when you log off of Valorant for the day, Raid Shadow Legends is there to fill that lore itch. That's right, Raid is teaming up again with me to talk about the Dark Elves, a faction in game. While you download Raid for PC or on your phone, here's the breakdown of their lore. 700 years ago, Sephiroth tempted some of the elves away from the light with art and philosophy. They were forced to stop by the Arbiter, but when some elves refused to expand their interests, that's when the evil started happening. War broke out around the lands between the two factions. I won't spoil who won the war, you'll have to find that out for yourself. My boy Kaden looks like an absolute brute you wouldn't want to mess with, while Lydia, the death siren, looks like a demon, which I think is pretty cool. Here's what I love about Raid. It's a perfect mix of high intensity gameplay with aspects of storytelling along with it. The champions are really cool and well designed, along with the social aspect of the game as well. There's seriously never been a better time to get started, and if you use my link or scan the QR code right here, new players will get a free starter pack worth almost $30 to kickstart your game. We're talking a free champion, Reyna, 200k silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and the 1 agent shard so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game. You will find these rewards here in your inbox for the next 30 days only. Once you're in, you can find me in game, Sir Jeppy, and if you're fast, you can join my clan. And it's that easy. Click the link in the description and I will see you in game. So the first agent, who has the worst lore in Valorant? Well, it has to go to someone, and unfortunately that person is going to have to be Jett. Now here's the thing with Jett that kind of forced me to put her as, well, the worst. Firstly, she really doesn't have much lore to speak of. Like, we know where she came from, she used to be a chef, she is kind of arrogant but super outgoing and hypes up her team. That's basically about it. Like, I'm not even kidding. She doesn't add really anything at all to the overall story of Valorant. Like, I feel like her Mirror Earth Jett does more. So yeah, I'm sorry Jett mains, but you kind of have to agree that she deserves it, right? Up next in C tier is Raze. Now, personally, I'm not like really invested in Raze's lore, and I'm guessing you guys feel the same way as well because she was the last agent to be voted on to get an agent lore video from me. She is very outgoing and hates the kingdom and loves engineering things with a bang. Her ex-criminal history is kind of cool, but I don't see very many people in the community talk about her, so there has to be a reason for it, right? Well, I think it might just boil down to her story is mostly a mix of Breach and Killjoy, but each of them tell their stories better. Up next in C tier, and it absolutely pains me to say this because he is my main, it's going to have to be Sova. Like I said, I'm trying to stay as unbiased as possible, but guys, I mean, it's no surprise that Sova's lore just isn't really that great. He doesn't really add much to Valorant's story besides being one of the higher ups and most trusted sources for Brimstone. His design and character is really cool in my opinion, but his story that goes along with it just isn't fleshed out enough to be any higher on the list for me. Sorry, bro. Real quick, guys, if you enjoy my videos, it helps out a lot if you subscribe. Only about 12% of viewers are subscribed. It's fine if you don't want to. I know it's a lot for me to subscribe to someone if I want to watch their videos, but if you want to support me more, the algorithm would absolutely love it if this video got a lot of subs. The last agent in C tier is going to be Skye. Now, Skye's lore doesn't do anything terribly wrong, like at all. It's just not very interesting. She has some cool things about her, but overall, the Aussie farmer that works out and loves animals can only really get you so far on the list of truly amazing lore stories. I'm sure in the future they'll expand more with Skye, but for now she will remain in C tier. Moving Moving on to B tier, and the first agent I have here in B tier is going to be Breach. Now, my Breachy boy is pretty cool in my opinion, but overall, I don't think his lore story is like that great. It's okay, enough to get it in B tier, with him being born with no arms and overcoming those challenges, turning to a life of crime and bettering himself with joining the protocol is actually cool, but once he joined the VP, his story kind of stops there. Besides informing Brim about the blackmailer initially, he really hasn't done much since then. The next agent in B tier is going to be Neon. Now, I will say Riot has done an amazing job at integrating the Filipino culture in Neon's character, but overall, Neon's story is kind of meh. We know she loves to sing music and dance along with collecting cute things, but her history is still kind of a mystery. She does have inner struggles of being controlled with their powers. Overall, I think she's just too new and hasn't contributed much to the lore besides powering the teleporter to Mirror Earth. I only have 3 agents in B tier, so closing out B tier's list is going to be Astra. Okay, so you tell me if there is really anything else about her lore that's interesting besides these 3 things I'm about to say. 1, she has crazy cosmic powers that control space. 2, her golden arm contains those said powers. And 3, she's an outgoing and hilariously sassy agent. There really isn't much after that, right? She's kind of just there to keep an eye on things to make sure the teleport action isn't messing up the cosmos too much. So yeah, Astra is going to be in B tier. Moving on though, we start getting into more complex and in-depth lore stories, which we absolutely love as lore enthusiasts, right? So the first agent I'm going to be putting in A tier is going to be my man Cypher. Cypher is so cool and his story is tragic and very intriguing. We know he lost his family due to a tragedy and even sees them when he dies and gets resurrected by Sage. He's the king of surveillance and sneaking around. He loves chess, dies in every cinematic, and is the leading agent on cracking down who the blackmailer is. Easy A tier for me. Up next in A tier is going to be Yuru. So if I were to make this video like 4 months ago, Yuru would likely be in C tier for me. But with the new storyline of his mask being stolen from the kingdom, linked to old samurai armor really opens up so many doors in the lore. How did Reyna get on Earth centuries before the first light? Also, with Yuru falling into the alternate dimension, hearing a woman speaking to him shrouds his whole story in mystery as well. Up next in A tier is the goddess of Valorant, Sage. Now, I think Sage is very underrated when it comes to her contributions in the lore story of Valorant. She has quietly been a part of so much, recruiting Skye, being second in command to the VP, making Neon feel welcome when she joined, and of course, everyone always talking about her healing. Speaking of her healing and ability to bring people back from the dead, remember how Omen says this?
Sage, the life you give, do you ever wonder where it's taken from?
This is one of the most underrated voice lines in all of Valorant, because like, does that mean whenever Sage heals or revives anyone that the life force is stolen from an alternate reality and used for hours? So would that make Sage a massive yet unintentional killer as well? Up next in A tier is our little engineer Killjoy. Now KJ, just like Sage, has been in so many stories of Valorant. She crafted how many gadgets and machines. She is the one designing the teleporter for Mirror Earth and was a part of the Everland investigation. She defused the spike in the duality cinematic and made the diffuser, and of course she made the max bot in the warm-up cinematic with Raze, of course. Plus, her adorable father and daughter-like bonds with Brimstone is really nice to see. I think there's a lot here with KJ, so she deserves A tier. Up next, Viper joins us in A tier. Viper, arguably the most heartless and ruthless individual on the Valorant protocol. The thing with Viper that makes her lore so good is the constant war going on in her head. No other agent has as many internal battles. All the time we can see Viper fight for her sanity. One of the most beautiful illustrations of this is in the Twitter takeover series, where we see what Viper does on a daily basis. All the agents on the protocol recognize how much disregard for human life and suffering Viper has. Deep down, I believe she wants to be a good person, but the mad scientist has a tight grip on her. The last agent in A tier is going to be Daddy Brimstone. Why did I say Daddy Brimstone? Anyways, Daddy Brimstone. Personally, I don't really care too much for Brimstone's personal story, but the fact stands that all the voicemails and emails get sent to him in his office. It's hard to place him any lower than A tier. I mean, just think about all the breakthrough lore stories were crafted and discovered in Brimstone's office. I think we're just scratching the surface on Brim's personal lore story, so maybe the future will get some better stories for him. Now we move on to the S tier agents, where their personal lore or everything they've done or stand for has impacted the overall story of Valorant greatly. The perfect agent to start things off with this is Phoenix. Name another agent that has gone through more character development than Phoenix. I really don't think there is one. He's been featured in the most cinematics and has slowly over time developed past the cocky, arrogant, selfish agent he used to be to the more self-aware team player he is now. Even though he's failed the most out of any agent on the Valorant protocol, he has also accomplished just as much as well. Phoenix is awesome. Up next in S tier is the Empress herself, Reyna. So what makes Reyna so good is her mystery and what she has planned for the future. It's no secret she is starting to carve the path to the Radiant Wars, possibly in the future of Valorant. She has a ton of convincing she needs to do, but her plans are already underway. She has had so much loss on Earth, but still wants to defend it. You wouldn't think she cared or cares for anyone with how ruthless she is, but deep down, Reyna has just as much emotion as the rest of them. Speaking of Radiant Wars, here we have KO, another agent joining us in S tier. Of course, KO had to be in S tier. He's the sassy robot with a lifetime of history, saving his timeline from the destruction of Radiance, crafted to deal with anything a Radiant can throw at him. There is, of course, a theory that Brimstone's friend that died, Tariq Porter, where his consciousness was uploaded into KO's programming somehow from Brimstone of this alternate timeline. I know, confusing stuff, but if that turns out to be confirmed by Riot, then oh man, that's pretty cool. Up next in S tier is the
spooky ghost boy,
Omen. He's definitely the coolest agent on the protocol aesthetically, but also has the lore to back it up. Again, with a lot of these agents on the VP, mystery is the key to getting us invested in the characters, and Omen has no shortage of mystery surrounding him. Who was he? What really happened that turned him into this monster? Will he ever get his memories back? And will we ever see his transformation back to a human again? He's a depressed being yearning to feel and experience things like he used to, but even with all these shortcomings, he's still a good friend to everyone on the protocol. Now we arrive here at the last agent on S tier, the best of the best when it comes to lore, and I'm sure it's no surprise to you guys, it just has to be Chamber. I've said it in the past and I'll say it again, Chamber has shaken up the story of Valorant's lore more than any other agent. He crafted the teleporter, or at least funded it, that brought KO to our timeline. He destroyed the Everlane research lab on Fracture that pretty much sealed the fate of Mirror Earth. He plays two sides to every conflict for personal interest. He is shown to work with his mirror double even if they don't trust each other. He is aware of Reyna's attempts to craft the deception leading to the Radiant Wars and even sent Neon her way to do so. No one trusts him, yet everyone trusts him at the same time. Riot did an amazing job at making sure that people hate Chamber yet love Chamber, but for all the right reasons. All those reasons and more is why I put Chamber at the top of our list. But who would you guys put at the top and who would you put at the worst? Let me know by leaving a comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to notifications if you're new. Now with all that being said, Jeppy out.